Welcome to the Business Spotlight. My name is Jada Walker. I am your host for today's conversation, and my guest today is Hart Brown. He is the president of Saxum. We'll be talking about his journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to own and operate a business. So, Hart, thank you so much and welcome to the show. We're glad that you're here today. I would love for you to share with us a little bit of your background, of who you are, and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
Sure. Thank you so much. Great to be here and really looking forward to the conversation. So my journey has been a bit interesting. Out of university, out of college, went to work for a number of U.S. government agencies. During that time frame, my
Wow.
work was really heavily focused towards predictive analysis. So using algorithms to help from a decision-making process of what's likely to happen next, and then therefore what is your likely next best choice based on what the outlook actually signifies. And so during that time frame, that was the first part of my career. I transitioned from that into the world of insurance, doing a lot of the same kinds of things, predictive analysis, algorithmic based for the most part during that time frame. I took over a handful of boutique consultancies. The first one that I took over right around 2017, 2018 timeframe, and took that one public. The interesting part of that timeframe, not just that journey of going through private to public, the second one in 2018, I was asked, could I take what I was doing algorithmically, using math, and leverage in a piece of artificial intelligence to see if we can have this done in real time. And I said, I don't know, but that sounds really interesting. And so at that point,
Right.
there were only a few different systems I could potentially use. I chose IBM Watson, which at that point in time had won Jeopardy, and people sort of knew the name behind that system. Was able to get it to work at about 95% accuracy rate, which at that time was really, really high. In fact, even at today's standards is quite high. So from that point
Right.
forward, have always been involved in organizations that are going through transitions that are needing to see around the corner what's likely to happen next to make the best decisions for them, and ultimately to be able to leverage this new technology as well, artificial intelligence, to help them forecast and scenario plan for what is the next best thing for the organization itself.
That's really cool. It's almost like it's like a coach kind of, but like it's AI.
That's correct. That's
That's
correct. Helping
awesome.
helping you see around corners, so to speak.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. I'm like mind blown already because I'm like, what? Like, because a part of our thing, like we have coaches, and so I'm like, you're sorry about our coaches, but it's almost like replacing them, kind of ish, but not. That
Not
kind of sounds like
necessarily.
it, but
Yeah, there's two different pieces to that puzzle, right? So the first part is very much experiential, meaning you have coaches that have lived the world that you're going into next to help you understand what it feels like to go through that transition, or what are some of the things, the pitfalls that I've made in the past that really I don't want you to sort of replicate, lessons learned from real life experience. I think that's incredibly important. The second piece to that is then understanding and scenario forecasting. What does this mean for the organization? Is your organization really ready for the transformation? What decisions do you really need to make? What's the market going to do based on whatever it is you're trying to do next? Are there new opportunities? Are there things that need to change? Is the world changing? Global economic situations changing? What are all of those changes and how do you manage those?
that's crazy that it can do all of that. Because I'm like I don't even know I don't know anybody that can just do all of that. So it's crazy that like an AI thing can just do all of those things. Like AI has just been blowing my mind. I've been talking to so many different people on my interviews about AI, and like every time like they just tell me something different that their AI does, I'm like, what? Like where do you guys even come up with these things?
Well,
It's
so
so
it's that
crazy.
it really is, and the world is quite interesting. So as it exists today, artificial intelligence can do roughly about 3% of economically viable work. The challenge for most of us in the world of business, as we're going through our transformations, and every business is going to transform roughly about the same time frame over the next few years, is that that rate is doubling every 6 months. Every 5 to 6 months, you get a doubling of the artificial intelligence capacity and capability. And so that turns into 6% of economically viable work, then 12, and you keep going through 20% of economically viable work. And so all of us as business leaders, whether we really like the technology or not, and certainly there's both ends of the spectrum, we're all going to be surrounded by the technology, and it's going to be up to us to figure out the best way to use that as it becomes
Right.
more and more economically viable.
Right. That's why I keep telling the people around me, I'm like, you just need to at least use Chat GPT, like do something with it because you're gonna fall behind and then you're gonna
That's
be
right.
like, wait, what is happening? What is happening? Just like my mom sometimes, like she's getting a little older, so like I have to kind of help her sometimes on her phone with certain apps now. And I'm
Sure.
like, girl, you know how to do this? And she's like, I don't remember. And I'm like, oh no, you're getting to that age. Like, what's happening? So actually, let's set the stage for our viewers and listeners. Generally speaking, what does your current role look like in the business? Because we spoke a little before this. You're the president, not like the actual owner or CEO. So what does that role look like?
Sure. And so the role today has two primary hats, which is one very internal to the organization. So transforming the organization from the inside out and leveraging artificial intelligence within the organization itself. The second is we recognize pretty quickly that all of our clients, so we're a strategic consultancy, we're a transformation partner, all of our clients are going through this same transformational process. And so
Mm-hmm.
not only do we need to have success internally in our own organization, but we need to extend those capabilities out to all of our clients and make sure that they're prepared, ready, and can execute on their transformational plans as well.
Okay, that's cool. So like sorry, the question's like getting jumbled in my head. Um, how do your clients decide to work with you guys instead of someone else?
It's a great question. And so, one, we have been very fortunate to have a 23-year history now of being successful partners for our clients as they go through these journeys, these multiple journeys. And we'll continue to go through them over the next few years. We're talking artificial intelligence now. We'll have quantum computing come into play. We'll have 6G come into play. There'll be
Look, I'm
more.
like, what is that? Quantum computing. I'm like, that's a whole other thing.
I know. We'll have more and more technology that layers into the business environment. So multiple transitions over a short period of time. Very, very challenging. And so a lot of our clients come to us because they're looking for that assurance. They're looking for that confidence to help them go through the next part of their journey. Now, some organizations are going through succession planning. Some organizations are going through a technology transformation. Some organizations are
Mm-hmm.
shifting markets or geographies or having to deal with the geopolitical environment of what does that look like on a supply chain perspective. So lots of different changes that organizations will come to us and partner with us to help them go through that process.
So could you actually like kind of walk us through the process of working with you guys and how like I guess like your sales would kind of go?
Sure. It's important to understand all of these types of transformations, all of the different parts of the journey, these are not short-term elements. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
what really changes the conversation between us and the clients. We're not there to try and solve one specific problem over the next few months, and then they take things and move on from there. This is really, and we have to have this conversation. This is really a, 1 to 2, a 3 year, sometimes even longer transformational process. And if they're willing to have that conversation and they know they don't have the internal capabilities within the organization to successfully forecast the outcome, then our clients will lean forward and we'll have that 1 to 2 to 3 year long partnership at least through that time frame.
Right. So how do how is it like wow, my brain is not working. How are they like billed like for your guys' services? Like how does that like what is the pricing for that?
Yeah, good question. Because this is a long-term engagement, most of those engagements have different arcs. Those arcs are much more in a retained type of environment. So
Mhm.
they understand the costs and the budget for these types of services, and it's generally in the same sense, month over month, roughly the same types of financial costs for them to work with us. So whether we bound it, on a specific timeline or not, but it very much feels, in many cases, like a retained type of an agreement.
Okay, nice. And it's like at least you guys like kind of talk about things beforehand and like get them ready for that that process.
Right.
Before we get into the nitty gritty of the business itself, let's kind of look into your background a bit and what led you here. So why did you choose to partner with the CEO? I think it was his last name's Farrell or
That's right. Peter,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, okay, awesome. I was like, I remembered Farrell because of like Will Ferrell. I don't know why. It like kind of makes it in my head. I don't know. It just stuck like that. But why did you choose to go into business with him and partner with him and opposed to maybe starting your own business or maybe being with someone else?
Yeah, again, a very interesting question. What's interesting about the position that the firm is in now, Peter being the CEO, I've been a CEO of another firm. I've been a president and CEO of other firms in the past as well. And what you find here is you're starting to build more and more experience in working with our clients. And so it is much more than just a consultative type of an engagement when you have these type of people within the agency or within the firm. And so one of the things that attracted me to Saxum and the kind of work that we're doing now is that we do have that real true experience of guiding companies and firms through these types of turbulent times. And that experience matters. And so finding partners around me and around us that have been through all of those transitions really becomes important.
That's nice because I've talked to some people where they're like, yeah, I haven't like they didn't click with a certain person or like it just didn't go well. So they're like, yeah, we just need to cut this partnership out.
Right, right. It happens.
hmm So as you look back on your journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were challenged with and you were forced to overcome?
Goodness. So when you sort of take that entire time frame for me, and I've been very fortunate in many cases to be part of governmental transitions. I've been very fortunate to be part of corporate transitions, public to private. I would say one of the biggest challenges, more unique challenges, was in very difficult times. And the firm itself that I was working for at the time is called WorldCom. So many people will remember Enron having gone through an accounting type of challenge, and the company no longer exists in its current fashion. WorldCom came right after that. And WorldCom became,
Okay.
at that time, the largest financial challenge, accounting challenge that we have seen in the United States. So at that time, the company was worth about 168, 170 billion dollars that ultimately had to go into bankruptcy,
Oh
and
wow.
then come out of bankruptcy and start to sell a lot of the company out. So a really, really difficult situation to come in. The CEO had left
Yeah.
after the initial announcements. So there was an interim CEO. I came in with the interim CEO to help manage through that process. That was probably one of the most difficult challenges, certainly in the recent history, both here in the U.S. and around the world.
Would you say that this has had like a big impact on you as like a I want to say business owner because like that's like what we're usually saying, but as a partner in the business?
Yeah, I think you learn if you're good at what you do over a period of time, you learn something from, every situation that you're in as much as you possibly can. But yes, to try and understand what the decisions that are made within an organization, certainly at the board and the leadership level, the impact that those decisions can have on a lot of people very quickly, not just your employees, but their families, their pensions, their
Mm,
retirements, their long-term strategies. There's a lot of things that go into business decisions that in many cases are focusing purely on the nature of the business. Let's look at the numbers. Let's try and figure out what this means for the business and make a numbers-based decision. And of course, from my background, coming from the analytical side of the house and doing predictive analysis, I certainly understand all of those numbers. I think that was one of
Right.
the first times for me to recognize very quickly that this has a very significant impact. It's not the numbers are important, the numbers you have to pay attention to, and the numbers can guide your decisions. But the actual impacts are on the employees and individuals once you make those decisions are pretty significant.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like they don't think about that at first, like the employees, but then it is like when it gets down to it, it's like, yeah, you have to think about them as well because like you said, their families and their pensions and all of that, it's like, oh,
That's right.
and
That's
and
right.
people
And it's
get
we
mad very easily.
Of course, of course. And what I see a bit of the corollary with that, what I see happening right now, and I'll go back to AI for just a moment. You know, AI and the general concern that this is going to impact negatively the workforce, meaning, is this AI going to take my job? These kinds of questions that we ask ourselves. And
Hmm.
for those of us in the business world on the leadership side, it is important. And I would say most companies right now are not getting this right. It's important to recognize there's a messaging element to all of our stakeholders. How
Hmm.
are we going to use the technology? Are we going to use the technology responsibly? What is the impact of that technology? And make sure that that's messaged effectively to our employees, to our clients, our customers, our board, and everybody else that potentially we're responsible for, so they understand what we're going to do with that.
I like that. That's very interesting. So let's move on to what makes the business so special. So who primarily does the business serve? Like if I were in the audience, how would I know that I'm a good fit for your service?
Again, a great question. So we're very fortunate in the fact we are industry agnostic. So we have clients across virtually all industry verticals. We're currently situated in Oklahoma City. So a lot of our clients are center of the country overall, although we do have clients that go beyond our normal geographic boundaries. Really, it's those clients that have a true desire for longevity of the company. So whether that's a legacy element for the current leadership, what is the legacy they're going to leave behind to the next generation of leaders?
Hmm.
Or what is it that the leader wants to accomplish during their tenure, whether it's AI enablement or some other element that they're going to push into some new territory that the company hasn't been in. It's once we find the leadership teams that recognize that this is a challenge, they're doing something they've never done before. In some cases, some of our clients, and they might be 100-plus-year-old company, and they're still doing things they've never done before. And so that recognition becomes very important. The passion and the legacy and the leadership commitment becomes very important. When we find those types of clients, we know we found a true partner. Their commitment is just as important as our commitment to making these kinds of transitions successful. And so
Hmm.
it's those types of very industry agnostic, it's very leadership centric. Those leaders that are committed are the ones that we love to work with.
That's nice. Have you ever had a client where it kind of just like went left and was just like, oh, no, like we don't need to work with them anymore type of thing?
You know, I would say those kinds of situations are incredibly rare.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, that's nice.
certain, yeah, yes, it is, and it's very intentional as to who we want to work with. Um,
Right.
it's not that we want to go and work with necessarily everybody all the time, everywhere, right? It is purposeful. We are looking for those partners that are going to work with us for a handful of years to get to success. And so it's pretty rare when things will transition or shift sort of in the middle of a project like that. And the reason is when we look at the leadership team and we start talking about that commitment, when we start talking about a 3 year, 2 year, 3 year type of timeline, if there's an
Hmm.
interruption during that phase, and we're very open about having that conversation, if there is an interruption, then their transition is not likely to be successful. And so it's not that there aren't twists and turns and challenges along the way that everybody has to deal with. But if they're really going to change strategy sort of in the middle of it, they have to realize that the current strategy is not likely to be successful.
Right.
So those types of things are pretty rare because they've committed in the beginning.
Yeah, it's almost like that saying. I think it was like a quote where it talks about you keep doing the same thing over and over, and it's like that's insanity or whatever. But
That's
like it's
right.
like you
That's
need to
right.
try something else, like step out of the box.
That's right. That's right. I think Einstein was one of the ones that made that quote quite popular.
Yes, yes. What is one thing that you wish people knew more about the business?
I think really it's an understanding of brand, it's an understanding of messaging, it's an understanding of
Hmm.
communications, it's an understanding of how we can help them understand what is going to be the reaction based on the decisions that they're going to make. And so that's a really interesting and very complicated type of world to be able to say,
Hmm.
based on this decision, here's what we think the reaction is going to be, and here's what the decisions of everybody else are going to be, what are the actions that they're going to take. And so there's very few, I would say, organizations that can take you through that entire journey. They might be able to do bits and pieces of the journey, but to be able to say, we're going to transform you in a handful of different ways, and we can predict, at least forecast, what is likely to occur throughout that transition, that's the unique part of this.
Yeah, because I like that because it is like people want to know like what's gonna come next before it happens, but like no one is a fortune teller, so can't really do that. But that's really cool that the AI is kind of doing that. So that's really cool. I'm like, I need that in my life every day for my decisions. Like if I make this decision, what's gonna happen?
There you go. There you go.
So this actually it's going to lead me into marketing, which is something vital for every business out there, of course, and something that many business owners struggle with. So I'm always curious what successful businesses are doing. So do you happen to know what percentage of your monthly sales is typically invested back into your marketing budget?
So yes, and we do focus on marketing budgets, not just for ourselves, but our clients as well, because
Yeah.
that's
Right.
either protecting or changing or amplifying their current brand is important, both for potentially the
Mm-hmm.
organization as well as the leaders within the organization. We may have to amplify their individual brand in order to make the transition more successful. So a lot of those types of things are important to us. Here's what's really starting to become interesting, and not to focus on specific numbers, because there's certainly
Mm-hmm.
numbers published on who wants to do what, and I think it changes over a period
Right.
of time, depending on the maturity of the company. Is the environment saturated? Is it not? Are you the dominant sort of player in that industry? Lots of different factors that go into that. But what I will say, and I think is really, really interesting for organizations to start to figure out, is where do those marketing dollars go and what is the reaction that you're getting out of the marketing dollars? So we always hear ROI and we have people try and come up with metrics of, okay, I spent this amount. Did I get new clients? Did I get this? Did I get this? They want something concrete at the end of the process, which is not always, as
Right.
everybody knows, is not always easy to do. What I do think is quite interesting is if you could predict what's likely to happen in the world of, let's say, social media, I push out a message and can forecast what that reaction is going to be. I can now
Mm-hmm.
optimize a bit of my spend. So I'm not spending to guess, which is what happens in a lot of these types of situations. We'll create a message. We're
Right.
just guessing to see if that message is going to be the right one to sort of get the reaction out of the audience that we're looking for. So first, don't guess. We actually can model that and get an indication of what that looks like prior to. The other is we're likely to see here soon a handful of transitions on different channels for marketing. So the current channels that we have, they're not going to go away, whether that's social or television or streaming or billboards or whatever it is that we're looking for,
Right.
not to go away anytime soon. But we're going to get more. We're going to get
Nice.
more and more channels. And with that is going to become, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. So when you think of everything from, glasses that people are going to start to wear, and that becomes a new outlet,
Mm-hmm.
when you start to think of artificial intelligence, and we're already seeing the AI companies saying we're going to lean into ads. When you start thinking about all of these elements over time, what you realize is we're going to have more and more channels, not less and less, in order to try and
Right.
figure out how to spend our money and reach the audience that we're trying to reach.
Okay. That's very interesting because I'm like, there's so many different things where you can market on, like all the different social media stuff, like having a website, having Indeed or whatever. Like, yeah, I feel like social media is just a lot sometimes, and it
That's
needs to
right. That's
slow
right.
down. What would you say is the strategy that has brought you guys the most business?
Really, a lot of it is relationship building. Um,
Yeah.
that part of the process becomes very important. It becomes important is for the decision for them to work with us, for us to work with them overall, but also just on a purely individual basis. Do we have the right expertise to help them throughout their journey? And that's a lot of relationship building that goes into the process.
Yeah. I like that because sometimes it's like you don't actually build the relationship with them. It's just a quick little thing and then it's just like you move on. But
That's
I like to have like that relationship because then it's like later, what if I need you again? Like I don't want
exactly
it to be awkward and me coming back and just I don't know, it's just weird.
right. Right, right, right.
So we haven't really talked about having team members, but I do want to bring up that topic because I feel it's important to address the topic of building a great team. So how would you describe your leadership style in business, and has it changed over the years?
So team building, again, I'm right there with you. Team building is incredibly important. What we're starting to see more and more recently, and this is something for certainly everybody to start paying attention to, is we're starting to see more and more selectivity. So more
Mm,
and more the employers, our partners, us as well, we're starting to get more and more specific on how we select people and bring them into the team.
yeah,
That's really interesting. In some cases, that can, for some, you can see it slowing down potentially the employment or the hiring process.
it
Doesn't
is.
it doesn't have to, but
Mm-hmm.
there does have to be some intentionality. And what we want, certainly in our environment, we want people with experience because part of what we're working with our clients on is very experiential. The other is we're looking for a lot of sort of A players at the end of the day, and a lot of other
Mm-hmm.
companies are looking for the same. And you hear terms like unicorns and others. And so that selection process to get that right is incredibly important. Is that the more of those individuals you can bring into the organization, the faster the organization is likely to grow. And there's a
Yeah,
lot of very interesting examples of how that works in real life, but that's the challenge. So bringing the right people in from the very beginning, incredibly important. Some of that is experiential based. Not a lot of
mm-hmm.
that, believe it or not, is on job description. More and more of that is on pure talent and identifying that talent.
No, I like that because actually, whenever before I got this job, I had applied to, I swear it felt like 100 different places. And I was just
Sure.
like, why have I not gotten a call back at least? Like, at least let me know that you don't want me. And that's like, that's even nice. Like, I don't even care. Just let me know something. But yeah,
Right.
and then finally I got the call for this job and I was like, oh my God, thank God, because I was like, I have bills to pay. Like
Sure. Sure.
I really needed a job. But yeah, it was like it was just very slow, a very slow process of me getting back into work because it's like people are getting more selective, like you said. And it's funny because we've even talked now I think we're about to hire someone else for our company and my boss is being very selective. He's like, yeah, have already pushed it out there, but I just want to see like who's applying so I can like see like if they're gonna work with us and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, I like that process because it is like you could hire someone and you could think that they're gonna be great, but then they actually aren't showing up how they say they would. So I,
Absolutely.
yeah, I like whenever employers are selective. How many people are on your guys' team there?
Right now, I have about 25 core
Oh,
team
nice.
members. Mhm.
I feel like that's a lot of people. And do you guys have like any type of training in place for these people, or do they have to like already know like what to do?
Yeah, it's a good question, and this is one of the transformation elements that everybody is going to have to go through. So so yes, they have core expertise on certain things that we're looking for, but I'm
Mhm.
looking for talent, and by talent, what I'm looking for is cognitive density, cognitive ability. Are they asking good questions? Are they thinking ahead overall? Because a lot of what I'm doing is in forecasting, so understanding what's likely to happen next. Are they naturally
Mhm.
curious? Are there things there that I have to pay attention to? What's interesting is I can bring people in who exhibit all of those potential capabilities, and there's some tests and things that I like to do to help identify
Oh,
some
nice.
of those. Now, what's becoming very apparent is that as I add more technology, specifically AI, into an organization, what I see is that individuals start deferring to the AI. Meaning,
Hmm.
I'll ask a question. I've asked a couple of fun questions to different people. I'll ask a subject matter expert a question, and if I get back, that's a really good question, Hart. Let me go ask my AI. I have to pause and stop and say, that's really not what I'm asking you for.
Right.
I even asked somebody the other day, I said, where should we go for lunch? And the person said, I don't know. Let me go ask my AI. And I thought, this is crazy. Why are you asking your AI what you want for lunch?
Right.
So we have this process that's occurring in real time across all organizations right now, where we have this loss of cognitive density. We're
Yeah.
deferring to the computer and we're not thinking. If that happens across all organizations at the same time, what we have now is homogenization of businesses, meaning all businesses are going to look and feel the same way. Really,
Hmm.
what I need people to think on top of these systems overall.
Yeah.
And so the training process, once I bring them in, there was a period of time recently I would do two different training sessions a year, two different cognitive training sessions to create the environment to make sure they were still thinking. And I still found after two, the more technology I layered in, the more they started to defer to the computers. And so now it's quarterly. I think you're going to start to see more and more organizations even go monthly. Now, what's interesting about that is over the course of your employment career, we don't reach cognitive, sort of the peak cognitive abilities for us as employees until about the year 60. And so it appears right now as the more technology I add into the system, the more training I'm going to have to give people throughout their career, all the way up to, the point in time likely that we start thinking about retirement.
Wow, that's crazy because it is like, yeah, I feel like a lot of people they don't actually just think. Because my friend, she talks about how she'll talk to Chat GBT, and I'm like, you can call me and we can talk about these things
That's right.
and go through it. Like, what are you doing?
That's right. That's right. We start to refer to that as cognitive debt. And so companies will start to acquire more and more cognitive debt if they're not careful.
So crazy. I'm like, let's not be lazy, guys. Let's like use our
That's right.
brains. That's
That's
what
right.
it's
That's right.
there for. Exercise it, make it grow a little bit.
That's right.
So let's actually fast forward and look at what's to come next. So where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I think again a good question. Over this time frame, highly likely for us to consider taking more and more clients on, knowing that the need is going to increase for almost every business to go through some element of transformation over the next 3 to 5 years. And so we're going to be very specific about how we bring clients on and how we select clients to go through this process with them to make sure that we're ensuring as much as we can their level of success throughout this process. Their success ultimately is our success. So we will grow during this time frame, but we will grow intentionally. It's not necessarily to try and grow as fast as we possibly can to reach some
Right.
destination for us.
I feel like some people don't even, it's like they want to grow really fast, but then I feel like those are the ones that kind of just crash right after getting up there.
That's right. They can't sustain. for whatever reason once they go through that explosive growth. And it happens from time to time, especially in hyper growth type of environments for companies. They may get there, but for whatever reason, they can't sustain it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get it. I'm just like, y'all need someone else in there or something. Something needs
That's
to
right.
happen. So, Hart, you have had a really interesting story. But as we wrap up, I do have a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Sure. I'm ready.
Uh, okay. What is the key to success for you?
For the entire time that I've been involved in this process is to be able to forecast and understand what's likely to happen next, individual, group, company, organization, or country.
I like that one. What is a piece of advice for other business owners?
As much as anybody can, even without the expertise, but as much as you can to scenario plan and understand all of the variables that are likely to impact you as an organization. I think we've seen over the past few years, we've had everything from a pandemic that has occurred to tariffs to changing economic policy. Understanding those is incredibly hard. Those that can do it right will find themselves more successful at the end.
That was great. I like that. Like, I'm like, oh, I just like all your little answers. Okay, this is a fun, kind of a fun question. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could choose one spot in your business to sprinkle it, where would that be?
Really right now, and I think this is a fascinating question. If you have a lot of technology, you might choose, let's put it on the people. If you have the right people in your environment, let's put it on the technology and start to amplify those people. In our organization, it's put it more on the technology and amplify the really good people we currently have. But everybody would answer that a little bit different.
Right, of course. So before we get into the final question, could you please share with our audience how they can follow you and learn more and contact you?
Sure, happy to, and would love to hear from everybody. The best way to reach me is on socials. It's Hart S. Brown. You can find me there, and saxum.com is our website. You can follow us there.
Awesome. Well, we've come to the final question of the day, and that is what is most inspiring to you today?
So really, I think the element of for the future of business that is incredibly inspiring. I think we are in an unbelievable opportunity to grow. I think most businesses should be looking at about 40% growth rates over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. And that's because we're going to be amplifying our business opportunities and the way we work through artificial intelligence, should we do it the right way. And I think that's really, really interesting what will happen. And if the US, in this case, is successful in going through this transformation overall together, then what we'll see is we'll continue to be the economically dominant country for the next 75 to 100 years. That to me is incredibly optimistic.
That is, because I'm like, yeah, as long as we work together,
That's right.
let, let's bring it all back together and let's make this work.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Hart, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed your story. Thank you so much for sharing. And
Thank you.
also, yes, thank you so much. And I just want to encourage all of you who are watching to save this show and come back and watch it again later because Hart really did have some great insights for business. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you can get notifications every time a new conversation drops like this one. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and a special thank you to you, Hart, again for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.